Friends, let's journey back in time, not just through Italy's winding streets, but through its pockets. Our story begins in ancient Rome, a civilization that understood power, engineering, and the undeniable allure of gold. While early Romans used bronze and silver, it was around 217 BC, during the intense struggle of the Second Punic War against Hannibal, that they first minted gold coins. This was a statement. It said, "We are strong, we are wealthy, and we will endure." But the coin that truly defined Roman gold was the Aureus, first regularly issued by Julius Caesar around 46 BC. The name itself just means golden, simple and direct, just like the Romans. The Aureus was more than just money. It was a piece of portable propaganda. Each coin was a tiny billboard for the emperor, a way to spread his image and message across a vast empire stretching from Britain to Mesopotamia. Imagine being a merchant in a dusty provincial town, handed a gleaming gold Aureus. On it, you'd see the powerful profile of the emperor, a constant reminder of who was in charge. These coins were standardized, weighing about 8 grams of nearly pure gold. They were used for large payments, paying legions of soldiers, funding massive public works like aqueducts and amphitheaters, and conducting international trade for exotic goods like silk from the East. The symbolism etched into each Aureus was immense. On one side, you had the emperor's portrait, often depicted with a laurel wreath, a symbol of victory and honor. The other side, the reverse, told a story. It might feature a goddess like Victory or Victoria to celebrate a military triumph, or Ceres, the goddess of agriculture, to signify a bountiful harvest and prosperity for the empire. These images weren't just decorative, they were carefully chosen messages of stability, divine favor, and imperial might. Holding an Aureus was like holding a small, solid piece of the Roman state itself, a tangible connection to the heart of power in the capital. Over the centuries, the Aureus reflected the fortunes of the empire. Under emperors like Augustus, the coins were of high quality and consistent weight, projecting an image of a stable and prosperous Pax Romana. However, during times of crisis and civil war, the gold content could be reduced, a practice known as debasement. This was a sign of economic trouble, a desperate measure to stretch state finances. So, by studying the Aureus, we can not only see the faces of long-dead emperors, but also feel the economic pulse of one of history's greatest empires, all contained within a small golden disc. As the Roman Empire entered its later centuries, it faced immense challenges: economic instability, political turmoil, and constant threats along its borders. The once mighty Aureus had been debased, and its value had become unreliable. A strong, stable currency was needed to restore confidence. Enter Emperor Constantine the Great. Around 312 AD, he introduced a new gold coin that would change the course of monetary history, the solidus. The name itself was a promise, derived from the Latin word for solid. This coin was meant to be a rock of stability in a sea of uncertainty, and for centuries, it was exactly that. The solidus was slightly lighter than the old Aureus, weighing about 4.5 grams of pure gold, but its crucial feature was its unwavering consistency. For over 700 years, from the late Roman Empire through the height of the Byzantine Empire, the solidus maintained its weight and purity. This incredible reliability made it the most trusted international currency of its time, the equivalent of the US dollar in the ancient and medieval world. It was the coin everyone wanted, from merchants along the Silk Road to barbarian kings in the West. It was the standard by which all other wealth was measured. Like the Aureus before it, the solidus was a powerful tool for imperial branding. However, the message began to change. As Christianity became the state religion, the imagery on the coins shifted. Instead of pagan gods, we start to see Christian symbols. The emperor might be shown holding a cross, or an orb topped with a cross, symbolizing his rule over a Christian world. The reverse of the coin often featured an angel or a large cross. This was a profound transformation. The coin was no longer just about the emperor's power, but about his role as God's representative on earth, a defender of the Christian faith. The influence of the solidus was so profound that it outlived the Western Roman Empire itself. Even after Rome fell in 476 AD, the solidus continued to be minted in Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. Its design and name were copied and adapted across Europe and the Middle East for centuries. The Italian word, and the French, for a low-value coin, is a direct descendant of the word. This enduring legacy shows just how successful Constantine's reform was. He didn't just create a new coin. He created a new gold standard that would define economic life for the better part of a millennium. After the Western Roman Empire crumbled in the 5th century, Italy entered a period of fragmentation and turmoil often called the Dark Ages. The grand unified economy of Rome collapsed. Long-distance trade dwindled, and life became much more local. In this environment, the widespread use of gold coinage in daily life largely vanished. The sophisticated monetary system of the Romans was replaced by a mixture of barter, localized silver currencies, and the occasional Byzantine solidus that trickled in from the east. For the average person, gold coins became a distant memory, something associated with a lost golden age of emperors and legions. The new rulers of Italy, Ostrogoths, Lombards, and Franks, did mint some coins, but they were often crude imitations of Roman or Byzantine models. They lacked the fine artistry and, more importantly, the consistent purity of their predecessors. These coins, known as tremises, a third of a solidus, were often the highest denomination available. This shift tells us a lot about the economy of the time. The lack of high-value gold coins suggests that large-scale transactions were rare. Society was poorer, more agrarian, and less interconnected. Gold was hoarded as treasure rather than used as a fluid medium of exchange. But even in these darker times, the idea of gold as the ultimate store of value never disappeared. It was kept in the treasuries of kings and in the coffers of the church, a symbol of power and divine wealth. The dream of a stable, reliable gold currency remained. The breakthrough began around the 11th and 12th centuries. As the chaos of the early medieval period subsided, trade began to revive. Italian coastal cities like Amalfi, Pisa, Genoa, and Venice started to dominate maritime trade in the Mediterranean, reconnecting Europe with the wealthy markets of the Byzantine Empire and the Islamic world. This resurgence of commerce created a new demand for a high-value, trustworthy currency. Merchants dealing in spices, silks, and other luxury goods needed a better way to settle large accounts than hauling around heavy bags of silver. The time was ripe for gold to make a grand comeback. The stage was set not in the court of an emperor or a king, but in the bustling counting houses of Italy's rising mercantile republics. These city-states, powered by trade and finance, would soon mint the coins that would define the next chapter of European economic history. In 1252, a momentous event happened in the city of Florence. This bustling hub of wool traders, artists, and bankers did something revolutionary. It issued the first major gold coin in Western Europe in over 500 years. They called it the E, or the gold florin. This wasn't just a new coin. It was a bold declaration of Florence's economic power and ambition. The florin was struck from 3.54 grams of virtually pure gold, a standard it would maintain with incredible consistency for centuries. This reliability quickly made it the most coveted currency in Europe. The design of the florin was simple yet iconic, a masterpiece of medieval branding. On one side was the city's emblem, a stylized iris flower, or a, from which the coin got its name. This was the city's logo, instantly recognizable across the continent. On the other side was a powerful image of Saint John the Baptist, the patron saint of Florence, depicted in his traditional camel hair coat. This combination of civic pride and religious devotion was a powerful statement. It projected an image of a city that was both commercially successful and blessed by God, a trustworthy partner for business. The florin became the engine of the early Renaissance. Florentine banking families like the Medici used it to build financial empires, lending money to popes and kings across Europe. When you hear about the great art of the Renaissance, the paintings of Giotto or the dome built by Brunelleschi, remember that it was often florins that paid for the materials and the artists. The coin facilitated a boom in trade, finance, and culture that radiated out from Florence. Its success was so great that over 150 other European states and cities would eventually mint their own imitations, all trying to capture some of the florin's magic and credibility. But the florin was more than an economic tool. It was a symbol of a new era. It represented a shift in power from the old feudal aristocracy to a new class of merchants and bankers. Wealth was no longer based solely on land ownership, but on commerce and finance. The florin was the currency of this new world, a world where a smart merchant from Florence could be more influential than a landed duke. It was a tangible piece of the Renaissance, a golden key that unlocked a new age of art, exploration, and human achievement, all starting in the heart of Tuscany. While Florence was dominating banking on land, another great Italian republic was building an empire on the sea. Venice, the Serenissima, was the gateway between Europe and the East, and its merchants needed their own gold coin to facilitate their sprawling trade network. In 1284, just a few decades after Florence introduced the florin, Venice responded with its own masterpiece of coinage, the gold ducat. Also known as from the Venetian mint, the ducat was struck to the exact same weight and purity as the florin, creating a powerful rival and a complementary standard for international trade. The design of the Venetian ducat was just as powerful and distinctive as its Florentine counterpart. On one side, it featured a standing figure of Christ, a clear and universal symbol of faith. On the other, it showed a scene unique to Venice, the city's patron saint, Saint Mark, presenting a ceremonial banner to the kneeling Doge, the elected leader of the Republic. The inscription read, Sit tibi, Christe, datus, quem tu regis, iste ducatus, which means, to you, O Christ, is dedicated this duchy which you rule. This was brilliant political messaging, suggesting that the Doge's power came directly from God, legitimizing the Republic's authority in the eyes of the world. The ducat's true genius lay in its incredible stability. For over 500 years, from its first minting until the fall of the Venetian Republic in 1797, the ducat's design, weight, and gold content remained virtually unchanged. This was an astonishing feat of monetary discipline. A merchant in the 14th century could use a ducat that would be instantly recognized and accepted by another merchant in the 18th century. This unwavering consistency made the ducat the ultimate safe haven currency. Its name became synonymous with pure gold, a benchmark of value from the ports of England to the markets of India. The ducat was the lifeblood of Venice's maritime empire. It paid for the spices from the Moluccas, the silks from China, and the grain from the Black Sea. It funded the construction of the mighty Venetian navy and the lavish palazzos that lined the Grand Canal. The florin may have been the coin of the bankers, but the ducat was the coin of the international sea merchant. Together, these two Italian gold coins created a dual standard that powered the European economy for centuries, paving the way for the age of exploration and the global trade networks that would follow. After the high point of the Renaissance, Italy's story became, well, a lot more complicated. From the 16th to the 19th century, the peninsula, which had once been a collection of powerful city-states, fell under the influence and direct rule of foreign powers, primarily Spain, Austria, and France. This political fragmentation was really mirrored in its coinage. The era of the dominant Florin and Ducat gave way to, honestly, a confusing patchwork of different currencies. Each kingdom, duchy, and papal state issued its own coins, including a variety of gold pieces that reflected the local ruler and their allegiances. It was, you could say, a numismatist's dream, but a merchant's nightmare. In the south, the Spanish-controlled Kingdom of Naples and Sicily minted gold coins that often bore the portrait of the Spanish king. These coins, like the doppia, were part of the wider Spanish colonial monetary system. In the north, the Duchy of Milan, under Austrian Habsburg rule, issued its own version of the ducat or the sovrano, featuring the image of the Austrian emperor. The Papal States, ruled directly by the Pope from Rome, issued coins like the scudo d'oro, which prominently featured papal crests, keys, and portraits of the reigning pontiff, blending spiritual authority with temporal power. The artistry of these coins during the Baroque period was often just exquisite. The portraits became more realistic and dramatic, the lettering more ornate, and the heraldic designs more complex. They were miniature works of art, really, showcasing the wealth and prestige of the ruling elite. However, their economic influence was mostly local or regional. Unlike the Florin and Ducat, which were international standards, a Milanese sovrano might not be easily accepted in Naples without being weighed and assayed. This monetary disunity was a major obstacle to trade and a constant reminder of Italy's political division. This period really highlights how coins are a mirror of political reality. The shared identity forged by the Florin and Ducat was gone, replaced by a cacophony of gold currencies that spoke in different political languages: Spanish, Austrian, French, and Papal. An Italian traveling from one end of the peninsula to the other would have to become an expert in currency exchange, constantly converting one ruler's gold for another's. This frustrating experience fueled a growing desire among many Italians for a unified nation with a single national currency, a dream that would finally begin to materialize in the 19th century. The 19th century was a time of great change in Italy. The idea of a united Italian nation, free from foreign rule, gained momentum in a movement known as the Risorgimento, or resurgence. After decades of political struggle and military campaigns, the Kingdom of Italy was proclaimed in 1861, with King Victor Emmanuel II as its first monarch. One of the first and most important tasks of the new nation was to create a single, unified currency to bind the diverse regions together. The result was the Italian lira. While silver and bronze coins were used for daily transactions, the new gold coins were the ultimate symbol of this newfound national unity and prestige. The new gold lira coins were introduced as part of the Latin Monetary Union, a system established in 1865 that included France, Belgium, Switzerland, and later Greece. This union standardized the weight and purity of gold and silver coins across member states, creating a large, stable currency zone, a forerunner to the modern euro. Italy's main gold coin was the 20 lira piece. It was struck to the same standard as the French 20 franc Napoleon, the Swiss 20 franc Vernelli, and other union coins, meaning they were interchangeable and could be used across borders. This immediately placed Italy on an equal monetary footing with its major European neighbors. The design of the gold lira was a powerful statement of the new national identity. On one side was the portrait of the king, first Victor Emmanuel II, and later his successors, Umberto I and Victor Emmanuel III. This replaced the old images of foreign emperors and local dukes, creating a single focus of national loyalty. The other side featured the coat of arms of the ruling House of Savoy, surrounded by a laurel wreath and the inscription Regno d'Italia, meaning Kingdom of Italy. Every time someone held one of these coins, they were holding a piece of the new unified Italy, a tangible symbol of a long-awaited dream. These gold coins were the backbone of Italy's economy in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. They represented stability and the nation's commitment to the international gold standard, a system where the value of a country's currency was directly linked to a specific amount of gold. This fostered international trade and investment, helping to modernize the young nation's industry and infrastructure. The gold lira was more than money. It was a badge of honor, a sign that Italy had rejoined the club of great European powers, with a currency as solid and respectable as any other. The 20th century brought unprecedented challenges that would forever change the role of gold in Italy and around the world. The era of the classical gold standard, where paper money could be freely exchanged for a fixed amount of gold, came to a dramatic end with the outbreak of World War I in 1914. To finance the immense costs of the war, nations including Italy suspended the gold standard. They printed vast sums of paper money that were no longer backed by gold, leading to inflation. Gold coins disappeared from circulation as people hoarded them for their intrinsic value, and governments collected them to pay for war supplies. After the war, there were attempts to return to a form of the gold standard, but the global economy was simply too fragile. The Great Depression of the 1930s was the final nail in the coffin. Under the fascist regime of Benito Mussolini, Italy's economy was put on a war footing, and private ownership of gold was heavily restricted. In a famous 1935 campaign called Gold for the Fatherland, citizens were encouraged to donate their gold, including wedding rings and treasured heirlooms, to the state to fund the invasion of Ethiopia. Gold was no longer a tool for public commerce, but a strategic asset controlled exclusively by the state. After the devastation of World War II, Italy's economy was in ruins. The lira had suffered from hyperinflation, and rebuilding the nation was the top priority. The world had moved on to the Bretton Woods system, where currencies were pegged to the US dollar, which was itself convertible to gold, but only for central banks, not individuals. For the average Italian, gold coins were a thing of the past, a memory from a more stable era before the Great Wars. The currency was now entirely fiduciary, based on trust in the government, not on precious metal. The age of circulating gold coinage in Italy was over. However, the cultural memory of gold's value remained strong. As Italy experienced its economic miracle in the 1950s and 60s, and families began to accumulate wealth again, gold returned as a popular way to save and invest. People bought gold bars and restrikes of old coins, like the Austrian ducat or the British sovereign. While the government no longer issued gold for circulation, the Italian people's deep-seated belief in gold as a true store of wealth, a hedge against inflation and uncertainty, endured through the decades of paper money. The end of the 20th century marked another monumental shift in Italy's monetary history. On January 1, 2002, Italy, along with 11 other European nations, bid farewell to its national currency. The lira, which had been the symbol of a unified Italy for 140 years, was replaced by the euro. This transition was the culmination of a decades-long project to create greater economic and political union in Europe. For the first time since the fall of the Roman Empire, a large part of the continent was once again using a single currency, though this time it was a fiat currency, not one based on gold or silver. With the advent of the euro, the role of gold coins in Italy completed its transformation. They were no longer currency for trade or symbols of a king's power, but had become something else entirely: collector's items and investment vehicles. Italy's national mint, the Istituto Poligrafico e Zecca dello Stato, did not stop working with gold. Instead, it began producing beautiful commemorative gold coins for the numismatic market. These modern issues celebrate Italy's immense cultural heritage, its art, its history, its science, and its famous figures. Today, you can find Italian gold euro coins honoring everything from Leonardo da Vinci and Dante Alighieri to famous landmarks like the Colosseum or the Leaning Tower of Pisa. These coins are minted in limited quantities and are crafted with exceptional artistic quality. They are legal tender, but their face value, for example 20 or 50 euros, is purely symbolic. Their real value lies in their gold content and their rarity as collectibles. They are a way for the modern Italian state to continue the ancient tradition of using gold to tell stories and celebrate national identity, but for a new audience of collectors and enthusiasts. Looking back, the journey of Italy's gold coins is a journey through Western history itself. From the Roman Aureus that projected imperial might, to the Florentine florin that financed the Renaissance, and the Venetian ducat that dominated global trade, Italian gold has been at the center of power, art, and commerce for millennia. Though they no longer jingle in the pockets of merchants, their legacy is secure. They are artifacts that teach us about economics, politics, and culture, reminding us of a time when a small, gleaming disc of Italian gold could truly be the standard of